Hello and welcome to another edition of Community Conversations. I'm Michael Witch with LMC Media, and with me are guests from the Larchmont Mamaroneck Center for Continuing Education. And I'd like to introduce Martha Sundin. You can give a wave, Martha. You're the Executive Director of LMCCE. Michael DeGennaro is an esteemed instructor in independent films, and Mike's got a class that he's going to talk about. And also he's a former colleague of mine from Mamaroneck High School. And Maureen LeBlanc, who is the co-president of the board of the Continuing Education Center. Thank you all for spending some time with us. Martha, let me start with you. Spring classes are what, less than a month away?
Yes, Mike, thanks again for having us. Yes, our spring classes start in just about 2 weeks, March 1st, and they will run through May. We have a lot of our regular offerings, languages, fitness, games, as well as some new offerings that are completely new that we haven't offered before. We like to often focus on notable neighbors, people within our community that have expertise to share. And just two of them that we're offering many, but two that I'll mention here is, one is a class called People Not Property, which is about a 4-part series on slavery in the northern states. And that's going to be taught by Betsy Bradley, who grew up, she went to Mamaroneck High School herself and now lives here. And she works as part of Historic Hudson Valley. So she's going to be, that I think will be a great class of interest and taught by someone who's local, as well as we also have another class called 3 Keys to the Resilient Brain. And that's a class to help us deal with stress, talk about the science of your brain and how you can make it more resilient. And that's with Dr. Juna Bobby, who is a local. She actually has someone in the high school now and has kids who have gone through the high school. And she teaches at Juilliard, a class called The Science of Peak Performance and Happiness. So she's going to share some of her insight with us as well in a class. So those are just two of the special classes we have in addition to all of the regular classes we offer.
And registration is now open for all of these classes. How does one register? How does one find out about these classes?
Well, our website is lmcce.org, and all of our classes are listed there. We're adding classes all the time, so that's the most updated place to find our course offerings. You can also call the center if you have questions. Our number is 914-220-3071.
And we see that later on in the show.
Yeah, I will.
Pencils at the moment.
And we have, if you want to get on our mail, we send an email blast every week sort of featuring what classes are coming up. Just go on our website and ask to join our mailing list as well.
Before I leave you, all of your classes now are on Zoom, I suspect, because of the virus?
Yes, all of our classes are on Zoom through the spring session, and we're hoping that in the fall, maybe we can get back to more normal in-person sessions.
And now to my former colleague, Mike DeGennaro, Dr. DeGennaro, as you were known at Mamaroneck High School. You were a very popular film teacher, and you've got a course in independent and foreign language films that you've been offering for years through the center. Can you give us a little taste of what it might be in store for people who take the class?
Actually, the audience for this program, this class, it's kind of really interesting because people, some of them, retired, so they have a lot of time to watch film, and they care about film. They have their taste is beyond, say, the usual. They want something special. And I think that's what I give them. I don't want to give them films that are they could easily see anywhere. The Zoom component, of course, really changed everything.
Sure.
And in some ways good, in some ways bad. I mean, the good thing was that I have people taking this class who live in the Berkshires. Actually, Rose Scotch, for example, or
sure.
Ann DeWare. So all of a sudden now you could teach a class to people who live very far away, and that's good. The other thing that's good is I could do long films because I don't watch them with them. That usually takes so much class time. So they watch the film on their own, it's usually streamed. And then I talk about it and we have a discussion. And the discussion we had on Monday night was one of the best. I think almost everybody participated one way or another. I knew it was going to be that kind of a film.
Yeah.
And so that's good. You know, I'm getting used to the Zoom. I need Martha to launch me every time I do it because I'm always afraid I'm going to press some button that's going to just throw everything off. So technology is, as you know, Mike, as you may remember, was never a strong suit. I mean, to me, the blackboard and a piece of chalk, that was it. Once they got into all this technical stuff, I was lost.
Are these, so, is it fair to say, is it fair to say that these are films that make you think?
Look, if they make you think and they make you feel, there's nothing better than that. And that's the thing. I mean, that's the most important part of this. Because if a film isn't that provocative, nobody will want to really talk about it. I don't think I've ever shown, well, I would never show a film that I didn't love. I mean, that's always, just like teaching at Mamaroneck High School was, you know, for the 34 years I was there, I was never forced to teach anything that I didn't love, you know, and that was great. So it's that. They know that when I choose the film, you know, it's something that I really care about. And some of them don't necessarily like the films, but they're willing to at least engage. So that, you know, that's that.
So can you tease us with at least one film?
All right, this would be interesting because the last film I showed Monday, I'm sure you've not heard of. It's called Hope Gap. Did you hear of that?
No.
It's with Annette Bening and Bill Nighy and Josh O'Connor. It's a little British film, kind of came under the radar, you might say. And somebody recommended it to me, and I didn't want to see it because it involved two older people, older actors. And I said, I don't want one of those stories, you know, where you're 70 years old falling in love for the first time. I didn't want any of that stuff. But then I noticed that Josh O'Connor was in it, and he plays Prince Charles in the Crown. So I gave it a shot, and wow, what a film. It's quite remarkable, based on a play. So this is that kind of a little film. Now, the film that I showed before that was another independent film.
Can I ask you to hold on to that for a second? Sure. Maureen is being very patient, and I wanted to ask her, Maureen, the Center for Continuing Education has a board of directors.
Right.
But you got interested in taking these courses. You have a story about that?
Well, I mean, I've lived in the community for a long time. I had 4 kids that went through the schools here, and I had taken some classes from time to time over the years that were a long time ago. I think they used to offer CPR. I've taken some of the finance classes. That sort of plays to sort of my background, just the finance classes. And I've gone to the Notable Neighbors, you know, when Tim Geithner spoke. So I have sort of always dabbled in some of the classes that didn't involve a lot of homework, if you will. But more recently, as my kids have gotten older, I've sort of sunk my teeth into a little bit more. I've taken the short story classes that are offered by Leslie Blank, who's another longstanding teacher. It's a great local resource for keeping yourself intellectually engaged, right? And it's also, you can do classes with your neighbors, which is another way of connecting with people locally. So yeah, I've been taking classes, and most recently, you know, during the whole Zoom session, I have a friend who used to be a Larchmont neighbor who lives in Morocco, who's taking one of the classes with me.
Oh,
and I have my sister, who's a university professor, is taking a class. So it's a nice way of, you know, while COVID has presented a lot of challenges in terms of programming and our inability to offer things in person, it has also presented opportunities, much like Mike suggested.
Yes, well, Michael just mentioned two of my colleagues who are in on the Zoom for the last film that he taught. So I'd be looking forward to having a little reunion on screen.
Come to class.
I think that would be great, yeah. I noticed that one of the new classes is about news, like the story behind some of this fake news and Twitter. I actually went to a session in the library about that, that a journalist taught, and it was really informative. And I thought I was pretty well informed about news selection and who's behind what story. So that would be an especially interesting story, I think. Are the virtual tours still being offered this spring?
Yes, yes, we're still offering virtual tours. Most of them this spring are into New York City. So the High Line, the Gilded Age in Midtown, the Ladies Mile, a Museum Mile, and those are taught also by another Larchmont local who she now lives in New York City, and that's Ginny Pullman. So she offers those virtual tours so we can get out of the house without getting out of the house right now.
Okay. Well, thank you, Michael. We're not going to have time to hear about the film that you taught before, the last film that you taught.
Okay.
But I think you've said enough to interest me and hopefully lots of other people.